Thanks for joining us. Thanks for spending some of your busy day with us. I'm Mike Doloff, Chief Revenue Officer at InflowCX. Got a great couple of my colleagues here from NICE CXone joining me. I'll let them introduce themselves as they talk and present. We're going to make this pretty interactive, so jump in. It's recorded. If you've got a colleague you want to send this to as well, we can get them a copy of it. Always like to plug upcoming webinars too. We've got a great one coming up led by John Glantz, who heads up our contact center transformation practice. And he's going to be talking about the different ways of work from home, hybrid, in office when it comes to contact center and your agents, pros and cons, things you need to think about. So I think that'll be a great one. Let's jump into our topic at hand that we're going to be talking about transforming your contact center with NICE CXone. Before we jump in and I pass it over to Jason, let me give a couple quick seconds on InflowCX. Then we'll jump into talking about CXone, what they're doing, how they're really, I think, reframing a lot of this contact center and CX technology space. So really quick, if you haven't met us before, InflowCX, what we do, we're services and consulting around contact center and CX technologies. So we're sort of the intersection between the people, the processes, and the technologies for CX. We live at that intersection. And that's why I'm really grateful to have a partnership with NICE CXone. We work with them. We work with really a lot of players in this space and really help our customers figure out what are they doing with CX, how do they want to do it, how can they improve it, help them implement and execute on that, help them optimize it. But we're not the software. We're not the companies making the tech. We're the ones really helping understand business requirements and delivering that. So that's why we partner really well. We're like peanut butter and jelly with CXone, right? So, and I think, Jason, you guys are probably the jelly. You're sweeter. So, but we do a lot. This is a space we live in. We love it. And glad to really let the CXone team show today what they're doing and how they're really evolving in this space. Because I think these guys have been doing this for a number of years, but not just sort of staying status quo. A lot of evolution going on. Before we pass it over to him, just really quickly, we work InflowCX. We work with CXone. We work broadly in this space. And what I would say, a lot of the conversation, maybe we won't cover all of it today because the product portfolio for CXone is so broad, so robust. But I think they've really taken a great approach that we're seeing more in this market, which is it's not just ACD and IVR. That's contact center. Yes, that's core to a lot of customer interaction still. But what about all this digital? What about self-service and automation and knowledge management? And really reframing this from just a kind of narrow CCaaS conversation, contact center as a service, to this broader CX and customer interaction platform. So we work in that space. CXone, from a partner perspective, has a really broad capability in their tech stack. And so you're going to see some of that today. And the reason that's important, of course, is because it's your customers are evolving and your interaction types and the way you should think about those are also evolving or should be evolving. And you need the tech stack to support that. And so CXone is one of those partners that I think has some great capabilities there. So I'm going to pass it over. I'm going to pause here, stop my sharing, and I'm going to pass it to Jason to really jump into a little more about the CXone story, get you familiar with them as an organization. And then we're going to pass it over to Rick after that as well to see some of the product.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hey, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and get started here. And real quick, I want to thank the Inflow team for letting us be a part of this. You guys have been a great partner. Obviously, you're a trusted partner, and you bring a lot to the table as well. So we're grateful for that partnership. We're grateful for everything that you guys can do, and you really, like you said, it's the peanut butter and jelly, right? You just make it better, because without peanut butter, what's the jelly, or vice versa, right? So again, thank you so much for letting us come on, and we'll just jump into it real quick here. I'm going to show a quick video. Please stop me if you can't hear the video, but we'll just jump right in.
Hi, can I help you?
I need to hang some shelves in my garage, so I'm looking for wood, nails, and a really good hammer.
Well, your luck, ma'am. We have the finest assortment of wood and nails.
And a really good hammer.
Hammers we don't carry.
You don't sell hammers?
May I?
By all means, please.
Francis, this is a hardware store, isn't it?
Yep.
And you don't sell hammers.
Correct, sir. Never have, never will.
Francis, the word hammer is in the name of your store.
Not sure where you're going with this.
Okay, what would you use to hammer in a nail, let's say?
Excellent question. Take this baby. It's almost sort of like a hammer.
That's a screwdriver.
Wow, somebody knows their tools. Okay, let's say this was your nail. Now you see it. Now you don't.
That's not gonna work for me.
No kidding. See, when it comes to customer experience, almost sort of is not good enough. To get the job done right, Francis, you need to have the complete set of tools. Only CXone has the complete suite of applications for creating extraordinary next-gen experiences.
Only CXone offers the most complete integrated suite of next-gen applications for managing next-gen experiences.
Problem solved. What do you think about this? We sell a lot of these.
Time to go?
Oh, yeah.
Use either side. I think this side probably better. It's harder, solid.
That's just a funny video, but I like to show that video because we've got a couple different ways. You've got two different paths, right? You've got, in a typical contact center, you need to be able to route the calls, whether that's voice, digital, those interactions really. You need to be able to make sure there's enough agents there doing what they're supposed to be doing through workforce management, quality management. And then, although you're telling the story, you want to make sure that the customers are hearing the right message, right? So giving them the opportunity to do surveys and go through the analytics piece. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we're facilitating change through workforce integration, automation, reporting. So you've got a couple different choices. You can choose one company for all of these different pieces, or you can choose option number 2, which is NICE, to keep you from becoming siloed out, right? So times have changed quite a bit. We're no longer picking up the rotary dial phone and dialing in the 1-800 number. Everybody's walking around with these smart computers in their hand, and they want to be able to communicate with companies on their channel of choice. They typically want to start with self-service, but they want that journey to be personalized to them. They don't want to have to tell the story over and over again if they do get to a point where they do need to talk to a human or switch channels. The problem is a lot of companies are doing very good at gathering this data, but there's a big gap because then we're just handing the data off to a human to handle anyway. So what NICE is doing with our customer experience interactions is we're trying to bridge that gap. Right now, 81% roughly, 81% of consumers are attempting that self-service first, but companies are only able to handle about 17% of those interactions without handing it over to a human. So now let's go back there and look at this needs event. We've got the customer, they have an order, they have they've got to replace something, they want to find out when their service is going to happen, whatever that need event is. So we've got a journey here, and everything in here lives on this Enlighten XO. And you'll see over here to the far right, you've got this human interaction. And really what we're trying to do along this way is accomplish what the customer wants, is that self-serve without having to interact with a human. In the event that does happen, they have to interact with that human. They want that journey to be seen and understand what's happened there. So again, let's go back to that needs event. Let's look at this with the proactively. So for instance, we're working with major appliance manufacturers where if your fridge starts acting up, your fridge will file a ticket. The fridge will, with that ticket, then it will automate an outbound outreach to the customer to say, hey, your fridge is acting up. Can we get a technician out there? And before there's any human interaction, there's a technician standing on the doorstep waiting for that to work on the fridge. Obviously, there's customer interaction, but on the company side, it's all being done through AI. We actually had with Verizon last year, we did 300 million interactions where we're scheduling service, we're rescheduling, we're confirming an adult's going to be there. 300 million interactions typically takes thousands of agents to handle. We did it with 28 agents with that contact engine. The next piece is our expert system, and that's the knowledge base. So if I can put the same information that when you call in, the agents are talking, or the agents are searching, now I make that searchable on Google. Now that the customers are able to go to Google, find the information, accomplish that self-service without having to interact with a human. And we kind of go through this journey. Another big piece I want to hit on here, and I don't want to take too much time because I want to actually show what the platform looks like. But our Smart Assist, we've been doing this for years, 17 years in the cloud for cloud contact center. We've been gathering data. We know what sentiment is. We know what vocabulary per vertical is. We know what people are asking, and we're able to then to not only gather the data, but then accomplish the task again, getting closer and closer to that 81%. So according to Gartner, 85% of consumer interactions will take place without a human in the next 5 years. This is an older slide, so we're getting closer and closer to that interaction. Again, we don't want to take away the human interaction, but we want to make those human interactions much more meaningful, and we want to make the AI and the other pieces that we're doing before you get there much more meaningful. So I know that was a mouthful. Does anybody have any questions real quick before I turn the time over to Rick? I don't see any questions in the chat. So Rick, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Jason. Hey, everyone. Rick Trento here. I'm going to share with you a couple of concepts that Jason mentioned around CXone and sort of that proactive approach to the customer experience, right? Being able to reach out to customers while they're engaging before necessarily reaching out to the contact center, but looking for additional information. So the two concepts I'll show you here on this webpage. The first one is a proactive approach using what we refer to as CXone Guide. And this is the way to engage with customers as they navigate with your brand. You'll notice a couple of things, these proactive pop-ups and information that is provided to web visitors throughout their journey through a web page, whether it's through a website or through a mobile website or through an app. This allows brands to, again, engage with those customers proactively, provide additional information, help them through their journey, and hopefully to retain some business or get some new business and close some of these sales opportunities. So I can proactively engage with patrons on the web pages in many different ways. But again, the approach is being proactive in how I engage with those customers. As I navigate through this a little bit more, just a couple touch points here. You see that as this consumer is within a particular cart, I can make decisions based on how long they spend in the cart, what they might be looking for in terms of coupons. You'll notice here, I was trying to find a coupon. Proactively, I'm able to give information back to the patron of a coupon that I might be able to use. So I'm going to apply this coupon to my cart here, and now I'm ready to move into closing and proceeding to checkout, right? So closing those sales opportunities, taking the proactive approach, but then also being able to engage with those patrons along the way. Another part to touch on here just briefly, again, Jason mentioned this, in terms of helpful articles, we run across a lot of customers that are looking for a comprehensive, easy to use, a very powerful approach to knowledge management. So CXone Expert is that solution that can provide not only FAQs as you might see on typical web pages, but leverage that information for things like a virtual agent, right? We've heard the chat bot or the chat GPT story recently, leveraging your brand information around products and processes to get answers back to your potential customers using that data within CXone Expert. And the last part is sort of reaching out and allowing those patrons or consumers to connect with you in the manner that makes the most sense for them, right? So Jason also talked about, that needs event. So regardless of the channels they want to reach out to you, being able to support that in terms of a virtual agent or maybe agent assist, or leveraging the Enlighten, as Jason mentioned, Enlighten to do the routing or provide the self-service application. That's sort of the CX side, right? But that doesn't go without saying that our entire platform works from that needs events all the way through, the customer experience and the agents and the contact center themselves. So what I'll do is I'll jump to another part of a demo. I'll show you from an agent experience of some of the tools that are now available to agents to help them improve their efficiency, be able to serve customers better, and be proactive again while they're on a particular contact with a customer. So an example you see here is this is the CXone agent. You'll notice a couple of things. That knowledge base that I mentioned in CXone Expert, not only can it be used for a web page for FAQs, but it also can be used for knowledge for agents, right? Providing that next best action, if you will. But another part of what we're doing with Enlighten AI throughout the entire platform is CXone is using the AI application for behavior models in real time. And so I'll make sense of that as I go through a demo real quick here. And so what you'll see is you're going to see a customer actually engaging with the brand here. As an agent, I'm going to accept the voice interaction. You won't hear the audio in here, but you'll see an agent assist panel that's going to leverage these Enlighten AI behavior models that NICE CXone brings to the forefront of the agent experience to help serve the customer, again, in real time. So as an agent, I'm ready to accept a contact. So a couple of things you'll notice to start with is leveraging voice biometrics for authentication, right? So we can enable the voice biometrics through authentication for your contact center agents, reducing that handle time, better serving your customers, making sure it's a secure environment for you, your agent, and your customer. But what you also see here is I have a sentiment icon in my app space. This is where we're taking the data from Enlighten AI that has been able to create these behavior models in terms of customer service. And in real time, and you'll see this update as we talk through this conversation, in real time, provide agent feedback to their behaviors that make a good customer experience, such as being loyal, being empathetic, actively listening to the customer, taking ownership of their challenges or issues. And again, this is being processed in real time, updating the gauges for the agent in real time. But you also see some pop-ups here, right? So these are giving guidance to the agent, not only measuring their behaviors, but also giving guidance to the agent on how they can improve that customer experience. This also allows customers to customize these behaviors and these pop-ups. So an example that is a pretty helpful example is, as a business, my agents are required to make a compliance statement in the first minute of the conversation. We can actually create logic in this interaction guidance tool that will say, look for these phrases and keywords within the first minute of the conversation. And if that's not accomplished, provide these pop-up windows or panes to the agent to help them make sure that they navigate to provide that particular compliance statement to the customer. And at the same time, being able to leverage some of the data for, again, what those responses or what those compliance statements should be, all within the same application suite. So from an agent perspective, I have the ability to be more effective, right? Understand and be secure with the customer in real time, being able to guide my conversation with the customer to make the best of a customer experience. We also have a package. This one that I'm showing you here is around customer experience and customer support. We also have a sales effectiveness model that will reflect behaviors around sales effectiveness for your agents. So whatever type of contacts they're being connected with, they can have that real-time guidance right there within the agent desktop. Another approach I'll take real quick is, being an omni-channel experience, you want to make sure that agents have the same tools regardless of their particular interaction, right? So in this case, what you're seeing is a web chat from that customer from that web page I was showing you at the beginning, right? And this gives a lot of information to the agent about the customer, right? So one might be contact history, right? So keeping track of all those interactions from that contact, or maybe being able to reach out directly to that customer. So an example might be, so we're going to I want to actually have a conversation with Joe to make sure we have some information correct. So being able to seamlessly move from one media to another media directly within that same user experience, right? CXone also offers a lot of different integrations. So you'll see an example here, depending on what CRM or ITSM I'm using, I can provide this information directly to the agent. We can actually embed agents in these particular in these particular workspaces, but I can provide data around that CRM space, if you will, in terms of contact information, account information, order information, all directly within that CXone experience for the agent. So I'll go ahead and wrap that up. And one last thing I'll show you is just wrapping up this item is the CXone perspective from supervisor, administrator, manager, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. I know this is a lot of content, but I think the key value here around CXone, if you're not familiar, is having all these tools available to you in a unified suite where these applications can now work together, right? So if a customer needs, if you need call routing, ACD, and some basic reporting tools, that's all core of the suite. But we see that customers want to start to move in these other applications like quality management, right? Workforce management, analytics, IVR, self-service type of analytics tools as well. All of these can be subscribed to within the CXone suite. So you can subscribe as you need, right? Subscribe as you go, and you can grow into the application suite as needed. So one area I'll just touch on real quick is a couple of the things that we provide in terms of analytics. And I wanted to highlight the digital channels, because once digital channels are now brought into the core routing capability in terms of skills-based routing, self-service, they now become part of the entire ecosystem. So now they can play a part in understanding reporting based on not only the voice channel, but the digital channels. And that's all of those 30 plus digital channels we support. But also lend themselves to quality management processes, right? So again, instead of listening to a recording, maybe a screen recording, doing an evaluation form, all of the digital channels can now participate in that. And then that also extends into what I'll show you here is analytics, but also workforce management, forecasting and scheduling based on those volumes of interactions, regardless of the type of interaction it is. So as I look at actually I look at interaction analytics, the idea is moving from just reporting, which is metric data around call statistics as an example, start time, end time, hold time, average handle times, et cetera, but move into the context of those conversations, right? Really understand what my customers are talking about or what my patrons are talking about. A couple of things you'll notice across the top is those behaviors. I can keep an analytics across those behaviors that we're capturing in real time. So I get an understanding as a whole of how my contact center is performing in terms of those behaviors, but also understand sentiment of customers, such as positive sentiment, negative sentiment, and start to look a little bit further into the specifics of the conversations that our customers are having with our agents. And then again, just that highlight here is because these digital channels are all managed through CXone. Now they can participate in analytics. So you can capture analytics on any of these digital channels on top of voice interactions as well. And then one more part that I'll just talk through, and then we'll try and wrap up, is in terms of digital channels. Many customers think if I'm going to enable my patrons or my consumers to connect with me through Facebook Messenger, then I probably have to have someone set aside to manage Facebook Messenger, right? But again, those channels can now be routed through the core routing engine of NICE CXone. So those can get distributed and managed through the agents, just like any other contacts. But one thing that our
one thing I do want to hit on. I just want to hit on that real quick, because the training aspect is sometimes a daunting thing to think about, but really you train your agents how to take a call and how to take a chat interaction. Beyond that, it's the same interaction, no matter what 30 channels it comes through, it's the same interaction, so that there's no heavy lift. It's two types of interactions, no matter what the channel is. CXone does the rest lifting for you.
Very good. Yeah, and then so to wrap up that thought about those digital channels and Facebook Messenger as that example, Jason talked about one of those applications being self-service, right? We've been talking about self-service for many years. Self-service has gotten a lot smarter, right? Now with CXone leveraging, your product and process information as the source of the truth, if you will. In terms of virtual agents, a lot of customers haven't really thought about providing a self-service virtual agent to a Facebook Messenger channel, right? It's always been agent assist or human assist to handle Facebook Messenger inquiries. Now you can leverage our self-service application, the CXone Smart Assist, throughout all of the digital channel stack, right? So I can actually provide self-service to Facebook Messenger inquiries, providing answers to customers without necessarily having to engage an agent. So again, that sort of spans across the entire suite when we look at these applications that we're building within CXone. So I'll pause there, and that gives us a few minutes for wrap up, Mike. So I'll give it back to you.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I want to jump in if I can. Again, I want to make sure that we're closing the gap here, because again, we talked about all the different silos and things that we can do. And with CXone, really, what CXone can do better than anybody else is we make you more efficient, because we're not siloed. We're not duct taping, super gluing, and Frankensteining a system together. It's all a system that works and talks together. So no matter what channel it is, we're doing the workforce management to make sure you've got enough coverage for all of those. We're doing the same interactions. We're doing the same analytics. We're doing the same reporting and quality management off of all of these. So again, it takes away that siloed interaction and just makes it a lot easier for your agents to handle those interactions. So.
Yeah, Jason and Rick, thank you guys so much. That was awesome. I mean, that to me, if some of that was shown and you're operating a contact center and you're like, man, I didn't know some of that, or we're not there yet, you're not alone, right? There's a lot of stuff that people are in all phases of crawling, walking, and running towards this evolution of their CX. And I love what's possible with CXone. I think you showed some of the cool things, right? Voice authentication, real-time agent assist, talked about, self-service and the different capabilities around that. The core of a lot of these things are efficiencies. And that's driving a lot of the conversations right now with centers. How do I get more efficient? And how do I do that in a way, by the way, that is positive to my customer experience, right? It's not just offloading work and the customer experience is tanking. It's the opposite, right? So I think we saw some great examples of how the tech can solve that. One of the things that we get from a lot of people is, where do I start though? Like, there's a lot, where do I start? That is the question. There's not a simple answer for that too, which is everyone should start here. That kind of is our role though, InflowCX. That's the role we're at. So if you're scratching your head with like, man, I love this, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to make the business case. I don't know what we should bite off. That's where we can help jump in and kind of roll up our sleeves with you and understand your business and your use cases. So that's my invitation to you, is get in touch if you're wondering how to do that, how to make all this wonderful technology and bridge that gap between the tech and where you're at today. That's where we can fit in. I'll pose a question that has come up frequently as we wrap here for the CXone team. So Jason, Rick, where do you see people starting often with a lot of this stuff, right? So they're coming from voice, maybe they're finally going, okay, we're turning on omni-channel. We've got, Facebook Messenger and we've got chat, but where are you seeing kind of the next common step for people from adoption of some of the tech we saw today?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thank you, Mike. I think the biggest part with NICE is because we can specialize this to each individual client. So no matter where they're at in that journey, because it's all one platform, we can turn pieces on. We can take this off one bite at a time, and we can grow into and help your customers grow into the area that you're trying to get. So, if somebody is just on a basic box in the closet that all that's doing is routing calls, we get them to the cloud. If the next step is getting onto omni-channel, we can help them take that journey. Once they start getting into some of the self-service and AI, we can start helping them take that bridge that gap. And again, because it's all built on one system, the more pieces of this and the longer you're on the system, it actually gets better and better with every interaction. So yeah.
Well, I think that's great. So, I mean, the answer is it depends, right? I mean, that is the answer on a lot.
Yeah,
it depends.
The answer is it depends. Yeah,
it does. And that's why there's not this one size fits all of the path to take. But, one of the things you mentioned too, a lot of this, and it goes to prioritization, is when you have the data. Now, if you're collecting data, which is really a challenge for a lot of centers because they don't know, right, how many of these types of interactions or what's happening over here. Once you can bring this into a tech stack, cohesive tech stack, now you can start understanding how to prioritize based on data. You saw some of the graphics there talking about what are what are the reasons for a lot of these interactions? What channels are they coming in? So you can prioritize, where should some self-service be? Where should we enhance our FAQs? Where should we enhance some agent training because we're struggling on certain interactions? So data is kind of the underpinning piece that you need, which this solves for, this platform solves for. So good stuff. It's hard to cover a lot in 30 minutes. I think you guys did a phenomenal job. To everyone else, thank you for spending time. If we didn't get to your question, please, we'll follow up with you. You can get in touch if you have any questions and not sure where to go from here, but really appreciate the time and partnership with our CXone crew. Thanks, guys.